This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone, good evening. Guys, can you all hear me and see my screen share? Can I have a confirmation?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thank you. So a quick recap. Yesterday we have discussed what is an API. It stands for Application Programming Interface, and it is a component developed that helps to transfer the data between any two modules in an enterprise application. And we have started to understand the client and server architecture. So I'm sharing my screen. Let's continue the conversation on client and server architecture today. So client is typically any application that sends a request to the server. So I will say this is the client I'm talking about, and this client is sending a request to the server. So I will say we are sending a request. Since we're talking about APIs, I'll call it as an API request. And the server receives the request. Server, again, the definition is it is also an application or a device that receives a client request to analyze it, then process it and give back a response to the client. So I will say the server gives back a response to the server, to the client. So I'll call it as API response. Yesterday we have seen some examples of request, and we have seen some responses. The responses can come either in HTML format or XML or JSON or YAML or text format. And we have discussed that every time you send a request, the request is associated with something called a protocol. And yesterday we have discussed protocol is a set of rules and regulations that helps client and server to communicate with each other by sending a request and response. The protocols that we have discussed yesterday includes HTTP protocol, which is unsecured protocol. By design, it is unsecured. Then we have discussed about HTTPS, which is a secured protocol, meaning the protocol is securing your data. In that, we have discussed either you can use SSL protocol or you can use TLS protocol. Within TLS, version 1.3 is latest. And SSL, like I said, it's outdated. We don't use it now. So those are your test cases. So if I have to write the test cases in a format that we understand based on our yesterday's discussion, so I will say verify if the developed API uses HTTPS protocol. That is my test case one. The second test case will be verify if the developed API uses TLS cryptographic protocol. And here I'll say version 1.3. So these are the two major test cases. I don't want to write negative test cases that says it does not use HTTP protocol, it does not use SSL protocol, it does not use TLS 1.0 or 1.1 or 1.2. Directly we'll write two major test cases like this. This is what we have discussed yesterday, right? And what are we actually talking in this chapter? Client and server architecture we are discussing. Okay. Our focus is to learn client and server architecture. The next thing that we are going to learn today in the architecture is HTTP methods. We also call it as HTTP verbs, VERBs, HTTP verbs. I'm sure you might have heard of HTTP methods such as get method, post method, put method, patch method, delete method. So let me help you understand what are these HTTP methods and why are we using it. So HTTP methods are used by the client to tell the server what type of request we are sending. Okay, so I'll write here HTTP methods they describe the type of client request being sent to the server. Okay, that is the definition of a HTTP method. It describes what request you are sending to server. So the request can be anything, right? Between any two human beings, the request could be a monetary help, knowledge related help, some information help, attendance related help, transportation help. So help can mean multiple things. Similarly, when a client is sending a request to server, that request also can mean multiple things. So to know which type of request we are sending to server, the client uses HTTP methods. And the popular HTTP methods we talk about is get method, post method, put method, patch method, delete method, and then etc. There are so many other HTTP methods, but we don't need all of them in API testing. So definition of get method is simple. When the client tells the server that I need to read your data from the database, then it uses get method. Meaning get is used to read existing data which is present on the database. So it is used to read or fetch the existing data from the server. So server already has the data. Client says, I just want to read it. So then in that case, the request will be a get method. So examples of get method include, see if I have logged into Amazon yesterday and I have added one item to the shopping cart. I made the payment. The order is created. And now if I log in and click on that option that says view my orders or view order details. So when you click on that function which says show me all the orders that Kiran created, or click on any specific order, so you will come to know when the dispatch will happen, when the delivery will happen. So that's nothing but you are viewing the data of an order which is already created, meaning it is an existing order and you want to view it. It is nothing but this one. So it is an example of a get method. Okay. Another example could be reading a message on your WhatsApp, on your Gmail, on your Outlook. It is a message which is already there and you are reading it. So that's an example for get method. Okay, that's what get method is. Next, we have post method. So post method is used by the client when the requirement is to create a resource or a new data on the server. It is used to create new data on the server. Example, like yesterday, I logged into Amazon. I wanted to buy some item and I have added to shopping cart. I made a payment. Then the order is created, right? So when you make a payment, the order is created. So that is an example where you are using post method in the backend without your knowledge. So whatever actions you do on the internet, if you are creating something, it's called post method. It's the request uses post method. So create an order, whether you are using a mobile application or a web application, whether it is booking a cab or booking a pizza online or booking a t-shirt online, you are creating an order, right? So when you create an order in the e-commerce industry, that uses post method. Or when I send an email or a message on WhatsApp or Gmail or Outlook, I'm creating something, right? When I send a message, so that is also a post action. Then when I upload a file to the server, or when I upload a file or a picture to Google Photos or Google Drive, it is also a post method, because upload always creates something. If upload is creating, then file download will be an example of get method. Okay, so these are some examples of post method. Are there any questions here? Any confusions you have between get and post method? Is it clear? Okay, I'll assume it's clear, guys. Thank you. Then you have put method. Now put method is used in those situations when you want to update existing data. Okay, so I'll say it is used to update an existing data on the server, which means I don't want to read the existing data. Since it is there, maybe it is outdated, I wanted to update it. Example would be, I have ordered one pizza now. That's a post method. Then my wife comes and says, hey, I think you should order one more pizza because the kids also wanted to eat it. So I'll go to my orders, view orders, which is get method. Again, I'll click on view the current order, which I created, which is get method. I will edit the number of quantity, right? The number of pizzas I want to be delivered. So quantity, I will edit it from 1 to 2 and click on submit button. So when I am editing it from 1 to 2, I am updating my existing order. That is when a put method is used in the process. Okay. So I will say editing the existing order to reflect new quantity size. That's one more example I have. And one more example I can give is change password. Whenever you change your password on Google, Gmail, or Outlook, or Rediff, or Yahoo, anything, you have the password, but you are changing it now because you think the password is very old. For security reasons, you wanted to update it. So that's an example of put method. Then change in display picture, right? On the social media, such as WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., or Gmail, Outlook, you change your display pictures. So that's an example where put method is used. Then edit message sent on WhatsApp, right? On WhatsApp also you have that edit option to send a message, right? So when you edit it, maybe you sent hello, please join the class. I wanted to edit as hello all, please join the class as the class have started. So I'm editing it to a better message now. So that's an example for put method. Similarly, you have patch. Patch is also used for same reasons. So put and patch are like cousins. Both are used for update actions only. But there is a difference between put and patch. So put versus patch. So put can be used for updating the entire data or partial data on the server. Whereas when I talk about patch, it can be used for updating partial data on the server. Okay, so imagine a form where I have the fields like update your first name, update your last name, update your date of birth, update your gender, update your email address. So these are the 5 fields present in one of the form. If I'm updating all the 5 fields, then I use the word updating the entire data. But when I say I just wanted to change my last name, so I'm changing this to something, and I'm changing my email also to something else like this. So out of 5 fields, I'm updating only 2 fields which are of my requirement. That is partial data. So patch is used in those situations where your requirement is to update only partial fields, not all the fields. Put can be used by the developer in 2 cases. One, when you want to update all the fields, or when you want to update any selective fields of your choice, which patch can also do, but put also can do that. That is the major difference between put and patch methods. Another difference between put and patch is put can be used to create data if needed, whereas patch cannot be used to create data. So patch cannot be used to create data. So if I tell, hey, go and update the field called phone number is not there here. So put will create this method. It will create this field which is parallelly updating. So put can create the field which is not there. If I tell patch method, hey, go and update a field called my anniversary date, so AD I will call. So this will fail if I use patch method, because patch says anniversary date field is not there, so I can't update it. Put can create the field if it is not there. So put can work like post method if needed as well. That is the difference between put and patch. Am I clear for everyone? The differences between put and patch, please confirm. Okay. Finally, the delete method, the last one. So self-explanatory. Delete is used to delete the data which is already there on the server. So it is used to delete existing data on the server. Example could be, I have ordered 2 pizzas, right? I am not interested now. I want to cancel it. So cancel your order is an example of delete method. Next, if I want to delete the message on WhatsApp or delete an email, it's also an example of delete method. Okay? And deactivating your social media accounts or email accounts is an example where you are using the delete method without your knowledge. So these are the 5 HTTP methods we use when we are doing client and server architecture discussion or while testing APIs. So get is used for reading the data, post is used for creating the data, put and patch are used for updating the data, and delete is used for deleting the data. Okay, and we often use this terminology, CRUD operations. So C stands for create in CRUD, R stands for read, U stands for update, D stands for delete. So to create data, we use post method. To read the data, we use get method. To update the data, we use put or patch. To delete the data, we use delete method. So in API testing, we often hear the word CRUD, C-R-U-D, CRUD operations. To do these CRUD operations, we use these HTTP methods and test the same. So that's the third thing we have to understand while we are sending an API request to the server, and that needs to be tested by us. Okay. Moving further, the next one we have here is request headers. So request headers are also sent by client to the server. So now let us try to understand what are request headers. So request headers are typically the additional metadata that you are sending to the server. Now what is metadata? Metadata is any additional information about the actual request. Okay. I'll give an example. If I have to tell who am I can say I'm Kiran. That's just the request. But before I impress you in my training, I will actually introduce myself, right? Saying, my name is Kiran. I have 18 years experience. I'm working as a trainer in the last 15 years. I'm working as QA head for the last 20 years. I teach tool A, tool B, tool C, tool D, tool E. I do programming languages. I do these tools. I do that. I do this. When I say all these things, it is all the metadata I'm giving it to you. That metadata is nothing but request headers. Now, from a file perspective, this is the notepad I have created. This notepad also will have some attributes like what is the file name, what is the file size, when was it created, when was it modified, who did that, and etc. etc. Right? All these are metadata for a particular file. Similarly, whenever the client is sending a request to the server, every request will have something called request headers. So what is a request header? It is the metadata sent by client to the server along with client API request. So every API request that we test using Postman tool or rest assured or any other tool, it will have the metadata which is called request headers, which we have to test. So examples of metadata include something called user agent. Then you have something called connection. Then you have something called content type. Then you have something called accept, sometimes accept language, sometimes authorization, etc. There are so many request headers in the industry, but I will talk about the 6 that we use most often. User agent. This request header will tell from which operating system your request is going and from which browser version the request is going. So it will reveal the OS details and browser details. So server will know whether I'm sending a request from Windows operating system or Mac or Linux using user agent. Server will know whether I'm using Chrome version or Firefox or Safari or Edge or Internet Explorer, and the version of the browser in user agent header. User agent header will show all that information. I'll prove it also. Okay. So if I type this is a request, right? This is the request I have sent, and I'm using Windows operating system, and I'm using Chrome version, and the version of Chrome I'm using is, if I go here, help, about Google Chrome, I see I'm using version 139, right? How does the server know that I'm sending the request from this browser, this version, this OS? I'll show it to you. Right click on the browser, click on inspect, come to network tab, and click on this clear button so that all the calls are cleared. Now click on refresh button here to send the request again. And you see my request came here, which is JSON request. If you click here, you will see here something called request headers. That is what I'm teaching you now. And here, if you come down at the bottom, you see user agent. And that is what I'm teaching you now, user agent. So in the user agent, it tells that I'm sending this request from Windows operating system, and I'm sending the request from Chrome version 139. So my browser is already telling the server that this request is coming from Windows operating system and Chrome version 139. Okay, let us keep that aside. Come back. That is user agent. Then you have something else called connection, which is a second header. Connection header will tell whether client and server are actually connected to each other or they are not connected to each other. Okay, so example, if I say, are we connected to each other on the GoToMeeting? The answer is yes, because you are able to listen to me, you are able to see my screen share. So similarly, when the client has to send a request to server, first the client has to take permission from server that can I connect to you, and the server should acknowledge that yes, you can connect to me. Only then the client and server connection will be established. After that, the request will go to server. Okay, so whether the connection is established or not will be told by this header. If the connection is established, the value will be keep alive. If the connection is not established, the connection value will be close. So if I see here in this particular example, I do see or I don't see it. Okay, I don't see connection header here. So let me send some other request. I'll clear the calls. So it is empty. I'll send some other request. Okay, I'll just say google.com. And here I see google.com. Okay, I'm not seeing it. Okay, it's not coming here. That's okay. Let's not worry about that. So I see here if I come to something else. Okay, I think the modern browsers are not showing it. That's okay, not a problem. I'll show it in Postman tool when the time comes. So when the client and server are connected to each other, the value of connection will be keep alive, else it will be close. Then you have something called content type. Content type means the type of content which the client is sending to server. So it will explain the format in which the client is sending the API request data to the server. So whether the client is sending in text format or HTML format or XML format or JSON format, YAML format, etc. In which format your data is going to server. That is what content type will tell. Let us see here JSON. Here if you come and see content type, if it is there, I'll show you. Okay, it is not there here because this request is not sending any request. So again, I'll clear the data. Try with some other request. Like I will say Isha Training Solutions Postman. So this is the request. Okay. Depending on the action I do, the request headers will come. So what I will do, click on enroll for free demo. Yeah, so here you see content type is coming under request headers. Content type is coming. So it is explaining here in which format the content type is there. Since they're asking us to fill a Google document here, you see here it is telling there is a form that you have to fill. Okay. In some applications it will be JSON, sometimes XML, sometimes HTML. So in Postman, when I'm showing you the API, you'll certainly understand that. Okay. So content type explains what type of content you are sending to server. Then you have accept header. Accept is in which format the server response will be accepted by the client. So it will explain the format in which server response will be accepted by the client. So something like server says, I will send you the response in HTML. Client says, no, I don't want HTML. I want it in JSON. Then accept will be JSON. So accept will tell the server that, hey, you send me the data in the format that I'm asking you. That's what accept will do. Then accept language. So whether the response should be in English or Hindi or Japanese or Chinese or Spanish, in which international language the response body should be printed, that's accept language. So it will explain the language in which server response has to be displayed on the client side. Okay. Then finally the last one is authorization. Authorization typically comes into picture whenever there is a login functionality there. So whenever I log in, authorization header will be there, which contains my username and password. So I will say it contains the API login credentials. Okay. So these are few of the request headers that we are interested to know while testing APIs. So when the client sends a request, you have the request, then you have the protocol, then HTTP methods and request headers. This is 50% of client and server architecture. I'll take a pause here, guys. Any questions from anyone? Okay, Joy, do you have a question?
Please, can you throw more light on the request header?
Okay. Which request header you want me to talk about?
Yes, when you write clicked.
Okay, how do we find it? That's the question, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll show it again.
Okay.
you need to right click on your browser,
Right click, yes.
and at the bottom you see an option inspect. Click on it,
Okay.
and
Inspect.
for network, click on
I go to where?
network.
Network, okay. Network.
Okay. And if you see any calls already coming here, just click on this clear button so that all the previous logs, previous calls will be deleted.
Okay.
Okay. Now you see so many calls are coming, so I'm deleting them. Now type the URL, type any request like google.com, anything. I will type http bin.org/json
Okay.
and wait until the response comes on the browser.
Okay.
Okay. Now I see JSON response on the body, and on the network tab, you see JSON, right? Click on it.
Okay. Jason.
Once you click, here you see on the right side, you see headers, preview, response, initiator, timing. So come to headers.
Yes.
Now you will see request to headers, expand it. Do you see the request to headers?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. If you expand it, here is where you will see the user agent. You will see accept language whose value is English United States. You will
Okay.
see accept, and you will see some other fields if present.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay.
Then, sorry.
That's it. That's it on the request headers.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else has questions to me on the client and server architecture until this point?
Yeah, Kiran, these headers you were speaking, no? These headers as a tester I will be providing, or based on the resource what I am using, the postman will pick it.
Okay. So few of the headers will be automatically present in the request, and the rest of the headers you have to explicitly provide it, which your developer will tell you in the project requirement document.
Okay.
Okay. So, and when I'm teaching you the first project, and the second project and the third project, I will act as a developer and I will tell what are the headers that you have to add, and I will also add it in the Postman to learn show. But essentially, your developer will guide you what are the headers you have to add additionally.
Okay. It will be documented and given to the testers.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
100%. The answer is yes.
Okay. It is ideally it should be like that, or practically it happens the way it is.
Ideally and practically both,
Okay.
because as a tester you cannot decide, because you did not develop the API, right? The developer has developed it, so he knows which request headers are correct to be present for that project and for that API. And as a test engineer, we are validating it. So whatever the developer has developed, we have to validate it. Hence, the developer will document it definitely and explains to you which headers you should be adding in the project.
Okay, that means we are validating the headers also.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good. Okay, so now we will see the reverse journey from server to client. So client had sent these many things like API request, which has a protocol, which has HTTP methods, and then request headers. Now the reverse journey will be the server will also provide something called response headers. So what is response headers? So it is request headers is like client is sending it, right? Now server also says, I will also do something similar. So server says, along with response, I will send response headers. So response headers is again metadata which server is sending to the client along with response body. So examples of response headers would be content type is one such thing which is important. Sometimes you will see connection also here, and sometimes you will see cookie information, and you will see date information, the date on which the response is sent. So if I show you in this application only directly, here you see response headers are there. You see content type is there. So content type value is JSON, which means server is telling the client that I am sending you the data in JSON format. And you see here the data that I got is also in JSON format. Then date, meaning on which date the response is sent. It is sent now only, which is Friday, which is 5th September. Correct. Then which server is responding to this request, that you will see here. So the server name is Gunicon, and the version of the server that responded is 19.9.0. Then you have something else called content length, which is 429 bytes. So it is talking about the size of the request response, which is 429 bytes. Okay, so the size of the server response is also printed. So these are few of the response headers we have. While testing the APIs, I will spend more energies, more time explaining the response headers. But now I would like to tell you guys, understand response headers is the additional data, metadata that server is sending to client, response body. These are few such examples. Okay. Then server also sends something else to the client called response code, and every response code will have response description. So response code means it is a 3-digit status code. And who is sending it? It is sent by server to the client to reveal the status of client API request, right? So the client had sent a request in the orange line, if you see in the diagram, and the client is waiting for a response from server, whether the request is accepted or rejected or there is an error. So what server does is it will tell the client, don't worry, I will tell you what happened to your request. To know that, please look into the response code, which is a 3-digit status code. Okay, so it is sent by server to reveal the status of the client request. And in the internet, the range of the response code is, it starts from 100 and it can go all the way until 599. So that is huge list of response codes present on the internet. And definitely it would be difficult for you and me to remember all these response codes, right? So therefore, the shortcut I'm giving you is, I will classify them into 5 families. Like all the codes that falls from 100 to 199, I'll call it as 1XX series. All the response codes that fall between 200 to 299, I'll call it as 2XX. Similarly, 300 and 400, and finally 500. So these are the 5 classes. If you remember, it will be easy for us in the interviews and also in the automation process. So any response code that falls between 100 to 199, we call it as informational responses, meaning you are getting only some kind of information from server, whether your request has reached the server or has not reached the server. Is it in the queue waiting for it to be processed? Like that. Some information only is given. No concrete answer whether it has passed or failed. But if the response code is between 200 to 299, it is called as successful response. Successful means whatever request you have sent to server, it has been processed and the response is given. Something like when I pressed enter here for this request, I got this response body, meaning I got the response. That is why if you see here under general, I can see the status code as success 200. That's what I told here. Anything that's between 200 to 299, we call it as success. Okay, so that's something you have to remember. Then you have 3xx, meaning redirectional responses. Redirectional responses means your request is redirected from the current server to another server. Example, I'll say Kirti comes and says, Kiran, I'm looking for a course on performance testing with Jmeter. So I'll tell Kirti, okay, I have a trainer called Jessie, so go and talk to Jessie. She will guide you. That's a redirection. So you approached me, I'm the server, but I'm busy, so I'm redirecting Kirti to another server called Jessie, who is another trainer who can explain. So when the request goes to first server and the first server is busy, it will redirect your request to another server. Then the response code you get from server will be some number from 300 to 399. Then you have 4xx, which means client side error, and 5xx, which means a server side error. So client side error means the request that client sent is incorrect. Like either the password is incorrect, the username is incorrect, or the quantity you are adding in the request is incorrect, or if it is a payment information, the credit card number you entered, debit card number you entered is not correct, or the account is having insufficient balance. So whenever you make a request and the request is not valid, you get 4xx client side error. If the request is valid, but the server is busy and the server rejects your request, then it becomes a server side error. Okay, so all these things are the response codes and the response descriptions. This is sent by client to the server. Okay, so I'll put it here. Okay, so response code tells the client what happened to the request, and response codes come in these 5 flavors. Each flavor has a meaning, and that's called response description. Now this entire thing that you see on the computer screen now is called as client and server architecture. This is what we have to explain when someone says, do you know what is client and server? And this is what literally happens when you are testing an API. In the Postman tool or in the rest assured tool or any tool that you use, this is a diagram that you have to keep in mind and test your APIs. Okay.
Sorry, what is the example of server-side error?
Sure. Example would be the request is valid, but the server is busy and the request is rejected by the server. That's called as server-side error. Another example, the server is shut down now, or the server is restarting, or the server is going through hardware updates or software updates. So your request will be rejected even in those situations. Then you will receive a server-side error.
Just I'm thinking, and that question is coming in my mind. So in that case, if the performance is poor, then also we can get server error.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You can also get that.
Thank you.
Okay. So, any questions, guys, on the client and server architecture? Very important concept throughout our API automation course.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
What is the importance of cookies?
Cookies, good question. So, okay, let me tell you a long story, cut short again. So, look at my diagram. This is my browser.
Yes.
The client, and this is the server. Usually, the server is stateless. Stateless means no memory. Server does not remember who is coming and sending a request. So when this is the browser I'm using, right? The client. So the client has sent one request. And let us say the request is, how are you? Okay. I'm using some English language. It says, how are you? And the server says, okay, fine. Nice that you're asking me. So it also gives a response saying, I'm good. Now the server, after giving a response, gets into this no memory state or stateless, meaning it forgets who asked that question. So second time, if the same browser is sending similar request with a similar question, how are you? The server says, okay, someone else is asking me. So again, it will give the response saying, I'm good. So if the client is asking this question 100 times, server will give the answer 100 times. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. If I ask the same question to Joy, saying, okay, Joy, how are you doing today? And she says, I'm doing extremely good. Okay, good. Again, I'll ask you, how are you doing? You'll say, yeah, I'm doing good. Again, I'll ask you, how are you doing? The third time, you might get little irritated, right? I mean, you get little irritated. Come on, Kiran, I have answered you 2 times. You're asking me 3 times now. I mean, you're asking me for the third time. What is the problem? What is your problem, Kiran, right? What if I tell you that, I'm sorry, I don't remember? Then you feel bad for me, right? You feel sad for me that, okay, you forget things. That's the reason why you're asking me again and again. But if I remember, you definitely get little irritated or irritated. Any human being does that, right? So server also behaves like that. Server is also stateless. Server cannot recognize which client came and asked the question or submitted the request. That's a big problem we have in the client and server architecture. So to help the server remember who is coming and asking this request, the industry came with a solution, and that solution is called as a cookie. So what happens is whenever the request comes and the first answer is coming, which is I'm good, a cookie is created. And this cookie is sent along with the response body, and the client is told, remember this cookie on your browser. And the next time, if you are coming to the server with a similar request or a different request, send the cookie also. So next time I'm sending how are you, the same cookie also will go to the server. So this cookie contains the information about the client and the information that server already addressed this guy earlier. So by reading the cookie, server recognizes that this user is not a new user. He is an existing user. He's coming for the second time or third time, meaning a repetitive user. Then server says, now, though I don't have memory, by looking at the cookie, I can remember that this guy is coming. So we are converting we are converting server into stateful. From stateless, we are making it to stateful. Stateful means giving back the memory. So now the question is, what are cookies and their significance? Is your question. I will say, cookies make server stateless to stateful. Okay, that's the answer. Is that clear, Joy?
But this cookies, who is creating it? Is it the server that is creating it or the client?
Sorry, repeat that.
Hello?
Yeah. Could you please repeat?
Okay. I'm asking, is the cookies being created by the client or by the server?
Okay, the answer is server. Server
Okay.
only creates cookies and it is stored on the client.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Cookies are always created by server and sent to be stored at client side.
So, sir, when we clear the cache in our PC or our system, does it mean that the cookies are also been deleted from the system, from our system?
No. Unless you check the cookies box also, it won't be deleted. Cookies are different, caching is different.
Yeah.
Caching is the process of storing the server response temporarily on the client side to improve the performance of the client application or to avoid certain security issues. We use caching process. So when you delete the caching, only caching will be deleted. Sometimes you get the checkbox that says, do you want to delete cookies also? If you select
Yeah.
it, then cookies will be deleted, else cookies will not be deleted.
Okay. So let's say if we have cleared the cookies as well. So again, if we contact to request to server, and then the server will again send you a cookie, which we always get a pop-up again, and then again a new cookie will be set into our system.
Correct. True. So every time you delete your cookies, server knows that your cookies are deleted because your request now this time,
Hmm.
your request will go alone, right? It won't go with cookie this time.
Correct. Yeah.
So think of cookie like a friend. Every time the request goes, cookie also will go. The cookies are deleted, the request goes alone.
Mm. Interesting. I never knew that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so guys, that's about the client and server architecture. And we are still talking about first chapter. There is one topic left in our first chapter, which is about the three-tier architecture model. That we'll pick it up in the next class. So if I have to quickly show you what we have discussed, we have discussed about the client and server architecture, the HTTP methods. And the pending thing is these two topics, which we will discuss in the upcoming class. With that, we'll conclude our chapter 1. And if you are happy with the way the teaching is happening, convinced with the flow, we'll go more depth, of course, in the upcoming classes, because the first 3 classes are reserved for demo so that you understand what is being explained and how the trainer teaches. The next class will be scheduled on Monday. And if this is what you're looking at, I request you guys to talk to Isha team and complete your payments, enrollments. For questions, you can always WhatsApp on the group chat. I will be happy to assist with any queries that you have related to payment or related to training, notes, classes, recordings, timings, etc. You can always ask me on the WhatsApp chat. Before we sign off for now, are there any final questions to me? Okay, thank you, learner. And happy Teachers Day to you as well. I'm sure all of you are teachers in one or the other way to someone else as well in your life. So happy Teachers Day to everyone. Cool. Okay, guys, I assume there are no questions from anyone, as silence is always an agreement of acceptance. I'll see you guys on Monday. Happy weekend. Good night. Stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.